Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 123, take 2. Well, now take 3. We had an error trying to get this one recorded today, on top of not being able to record it 2 weeks ago. So we're starting over fresh again. But Bill's not able to join us, but we have several other special guests up on stage right now. So we'll get this party started right off the bat. We'll start with you, Josh.
My week was interesting. Management up to their old tricks. Dating stuff that's not contractual, just patent BS, like water off a duck. And my mattress decided to eat itself yesterday. It ate its fender liner, so hour and 15 minutes waiting for a tow truck and getting towed back to the station. And I didn't get done till about 7 o'clock last night. That's when I hit my driveway. So I was a tired boy. So other than that, just a normal week. And it's getting hot down here, and I'm going to be harping on that a little tonight, just to give y'all a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
Let's see. What about you, Mark? How was your week?
It was an interesting week. I just got back from vacation, and when I came back to find out one of my fellow carriers had been released from their job, they were doing not so nice things like stealing mail and smoking in their vehicle, things that they shouldn't be smoking, and just stuff like that. But it was a good week.
And we'll throw it to Fender.
Good evening, everybody. I've had an all right week for the most part. Up here in Wisconsin, it's basically been April in June. It's been very cold and wet and lots of rain. I've had an interesting week. We're getting ready for our state convention coming up this week, and I've actually had several carriers that have reached out to me because they had issues where they are delegates and their supervisors were trying to prevent them from going to the convention. So we've been fighting that good fight, and it sounds like the steward system is helping them out. So, and it's a good thing because the one carrier is actually an RCA, and this will be her first convention. So, I'm really excited that they stepped up and she'll be able to go to her first convention.
Okay, Barry
That's
White,
awesome.
How was your week?
Well, it's one of those weeks. But seriously, first I had my state convention this week, so that's why we're going to be talking about the state convention season going on and everybody having their state conventions. And of course, I got the con flu. Got sick after I got home from the convention. It started Thursday night. I went to work Wednesday, but then Thursday night it was hitting me hard, and I didn't go to work Friday. And I was told that on the release day work list I was working Saturday, so the boss asked me if I could work Saturday still, and I said I'm going to try to make it. I did make it. I worked my relief day, and luckily I did because the only other carrier left on the relief day work list got called in that morning. and luckily came in. Otherwise, we would have had to split their route. Instead, we only split Knox route. So it's getting kind of difficult. We had a RCA that quit a couple weeks ago, and just hiring people in is the hardest part of this, especially with the carrier on EP still. So we're down that sub. We got another carrier that just went down on a workplace injury or surgery or whatever. So they're out for 6 to 8 weeks. That's another sub down. So it's getting kind of hard to cover all the routes, and so it looks like I'm going to be working my relief day for the foreseeable future for a little bit. But that's good.
Sounds like
Get
those
some extra
dominoes
extras.
are falling kind of hard and fast.
Yeah, it's kind of a karma thing. You know, they EP'd that one carrier, and everything just started falling apart after that.
Yeah, we got 3 people retiring in our office, and then that one got let go this week. So we're going to have 4 subs moving up. So we'll only have like 7 left out of for 27 routes. So,
Oof.
yeah.
Yeah, I only have 10 regular routes and 2 aux routes in my office, and it's hard to get covers.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an all government vehicle office.
We
You know, I feel even worse for the ones that don't.
Yeah.
we have about half government vehicles, and then the other half are DOVs.
All right. So, speaking of my state convention, my state convention was attended by 105 delegates, and our state could actually have 4,240 delegates at our state convention if they wanted to. That is how many votes we actually have for our state convention. The problem is those counties or locals that have those high votes don't want to give them up. They're perfectly fine raising a yay-nay card, having one person, one vote at for the delegation. But when it comes to voting for the positions of officers, they want the full weight of their county or their local or whatever they are. Because we've had several of them that merge together, and there's actually one unit that has 410 votes. There are some that only have 20 votes. But the most interesting aspect of, we're 1 for 5 for our delegation. That's why we have over 4,000 delegates. But we get 4,240 votes. But we're a big state.
So, James, did you have any county units that had no-shows? Like, nobody showed up to vote for the particular county units?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe they were all there. But usually it's just one person showing up for the ones that, it's sad. That's participation right there. And the biggest thing your state will do, which is your state committee, is something that all of us should do. What?
I thought you clicked out for a second.
Yes, me being sick, I have to mute myself when I'm about to cough.
Okay.
I'm not going to cough on the recording, but even though people are now finding out I'm coughing on the recording. But, it's participation is the thing we need. And it doesn't matter if your local has 20 votes or your local has 410 votes. Like mine, my local is a single county, and it has 265 votes. But because of the people in attendance, each person got 44 votes, except the delegate at large got the extra one to make it 265. That's a problem when you're going against a local that has one person voting the entire strength, whether it be 125 150, 410, whatever the number is. But I will say this. At my state convention, we had several resolutions that got objected to. A couple of them got objected to by first timers. And we had first timers stepping up and speaking on the mic too. And then when it came down to the voting for our officers for our state, it was a close race for every single one of them. Even with the heavily weighted counties in there, it was amazing how close the votes were. In fact, most of the time, several of them went multiple rounds. And it was a beautiful thing to see. It was beautiful to see all these people fighting for it. But I know Fender is still coming up on his state convention. Josh, did you just have yours?
No, we have ours this week. This
week. Okay, I know Bill's is this week as well, so he'll probably come back and tell us about it next week. And but the biggest thing that people need to understand about state convention is it is still a time to work. My state had 40-some regular resolutions, plus I actually have the numbers right here. We had 20 constitutional resolutions and 39 regular resolutions. And on top of that, we had 4 more after new business. At the end of new business, we had 4 more come up. One of them, 3 of them were mine, and I want to talk about this because this was actually very important. The first one I put up, I rescinded because another resolution had passed that was similar in nature to the one I had submitted. And the second one I put up was for our state, and it wasn't anything major. It was for them to take out a half-page portion of our state magazine and put in a survey at least once a year for people to explain how they would like to participate. What days of the week, what time during the day, stuff like that, to get people to participate. And this actually got pulled to the floor to vote. It got a 2/3 majority to actually have it on the floor for a vote. And then we went into discussion. People discussed about it. Of course, some people chose to talk about other things like social media and things like that instead of the actual resolution. But overall, it was a good conversation. And I have to get my state president props for this. All throughout the event and even on this. When they went to the vote, they went for everybody show your green cards, everybody show your red. He stood there for a second, looked around the room at the reds, and said, all right, everybody stand up with your green cards. And then everybody stand up with your reds. And he's looking around, and he goes, all right, we're going to have to count off. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the green, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on the red. It was a difference of 5 votes between passing and failing because it only needed a majority. People want participation, even at this level, although they don't want the cost associated with it. It's a minor cost. You're going to have the cost of printing it in the paper, the half the page that you're using instead of using it for other things. Plus, you've got to have somebody who's going through those. It did not pass by 5 votes. But I did talk with my president afterwards, and he said he's actually going to bring it up at one of the board meetings to see if they could do something like that. And so he asked me to write down what would be probably the best way to do it. And so I said to turn around and do the half page so people can mail it in, but also have an online form for them to do it and only have a specific date set for it. So you could only send them in during this specific time frame. So that way you're not overwhelming, most likely, the state secretary, and you're only checking that email box after that specific time frame. And you only have to check it once. You don't have to check it every single day. Yes, having factual submitted data helps. What Meow said in chat. We need to find a way to get people to participate. And I figured the state magazine is one of those few places that maybe we could get people involved. I'd love to see this actually as a national thing, too. How can we get you to participate in your locals? How can we get you to participate in your state? Stuff like that. But it was great that my president had the wherewithal that we didn't have to sit there and argue division. That he actually did not have the ego to say, I'm right, you're wrong. He actually said, I don't know, let's count and find out.
James, was that the only vote that he had to do that on, or were there any other votes that were that close?
No. He did that on every vote that was close. He would do that on it. No ego involved. He actually trusted the delegation to count themselves off and vote. In our states, the convention's small enough that we can count to 50. I mean, I wouldn't mind counting to 4,240 either. Just as long as we actually get a proper count in the vote. But we had a good convention. The resort that we were at was actually very well staffed, well taken care of. It's a ski resort, of course, in northern Lower Michigan. But the area was beautiful. The food was great for the luncheons and banquet that we had, and our banquet was Hawaiian themed. But overall, I'm just going to say this. I shouldn't have driven back to work the next day. I should have stayed up there another night, slept in, and then drove back. Because I would have loved to have had a peaceful drive on the way back. Instead, I had to hightail it back here because I got in at 1 o'clock in the morning to be up at 6 to go to work.
Oofda.
But do you guys have any questions about state convention that people might ask? Or anybody in chat have questions about state convention before we move on to management's flavor of the month? Most of them. They passed most of the resolutions. So somebody asked, how many resolutions did your state pass? We passed most of our resolutions by the gavel. I am not sure on the number of actual passed and failed because I was more focused on following along where we were than writing that down. I know I'm terrible at that. But I do know most of our non-binding resolutions were passed by the gavel.
James, did you serve on any committees, or did they ask you to serve?
No, but I did provide assistance to anybody that needed help that was running the event. Like I helped haul out the goodie bags for registration, and of course, guiding people where the bathrooms were, stuff like that. I haven't been asked yet, but I know that if they need me, they can ask, and I'll be available for them. But like our Constitution Committee, our Resolution Committee, and our Ballot Committee, all are people that have been on there for several years and are very good at what they do with it. In fact, I give them praise for what they go through and what they have to deal with. I have been in the room for a Constitution Committee or a Resolution Committee, both, and it is some work. Same with the ballot committee, especially when you have multiple ties. But they do great work, and I wouldn't want to take that away from them either. So, but
So on a specific question in Michigan, do you guys have any rules or regulations in your constitution that say where your convention actually has to be held, or do you guys just try to accommodate, given you have a large contingent of carriers up in the UP versus down in the southern part? Do you guys try to make it accommodating for the UP carriers to get to convention?
last year's convention was in the UP. It was in Sault Ste. Marie, right up there by the Canadian border at the Sioux Locks. Although one of the resolutions they tried to pass for constitution changes was that they find a location to purchase a building to hold their conventions at because it's getting so expensive to find a place. That was voted down. That was voted down because the cost of maintaining a building is going to be even more than what it would be to borrow a facility for a few days. But yeah, they could do board meetings there too, but there's a lot of different things they could do. But the problem is by centralizing the location, and they were going to find one in central lower Michigan, was everybody from the UP would have to pay the toll to go across the Mackinac Bridge to get to the event. And plus, those counties don't have a lot of members because they are very rural. So they don't have as much dues to pay their carriers to go to these events. So having them in all these different locations helps offset the cost for a lot of these locations. So you gotta weigh everything together when it comes to that. That's why even our national convention needs to be done all over this country. So that way you're not overburdening specific states too much to go to these things. That's why we were in Reno. Now we're going back to Orlando. Then we're going to Texas. You know, we've been to Grand Rapids several times, Spokane, Washington, etc. You know, it's one of those things that we have to think about, not only on a state level, but on a national level too. How can we make it equitable for all states, except, unfortunately, Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico? So, but now I want to get into management's flavor of the week or flavor of the month. So I was reached out to, and was tagged in a few posts to talk with a specific carrier about an issue that they're having, and this is one that is going to affect a lot of carriers even today, and this is their flavor of the month because obviously the pods didn't remove a lot of carriers. Doing the route observations and ride-alongs didn't remove a lot of carriers. So now they're going after the NACI report. You know, we had the SACI report prior to 2015, and then they came out doing the NACI report. And this carrier had an issue back in 2015, and it was resolved through the grievance arbitration process. However, they just got put on emergency placement due to their unsatisfactory NACI report from that incident in 2015. Let's discuss that. What do you guys think? This carrier's already had the grievance, already had the discipline, got the grievance arbitration process through it, got it completely taken care of. What are your guys' first thoughts? Don't all speak up at once. Fender, Josh, Mark, anybody?
I'll go first. Just a question. I haven't heard that term before. What are you referring to? A NACI report? So it's a report that's in our system that management can look at, and is that what you're saying, James? Did we lose James?
Oh, so they can. Sorry about that. I was on mute. So they can pull a NACI report through the USPS inspection service.
Okay.
Postal inspectors do the report pulling. And management can ask the inspection service to pull a report on specific people if they so choose. And that is what they're doing here. They're choosing to pull it on people to see if they can find a way to put them on emergency placement on the way towards removal.
So what would be in this report then?
So it's supposed to look at their background investigation records, criminal history, etc.
So they're looking for anything outside of the Postal Service to try to get rid of us.
Or within the Postal Service, like this carrier in 2015, had an issue with the Postal Service where they got it resolved through the grievance arbitration process. But yeah, management is now using it against them again as a reason to fire them.
So they grieved it one, but it was in the NACI report, and now they're pulling the NACI report to say that's grounds for removal, even though it was resolved in a grievance.
Exactly.
Wow.
And we'll throw
statute of limitations on it.
There's that as well. But I will throw this also out in front of you. This person also has veterans preference.
Are they a table 1 or table 2 carrier?
I believe table 1. But the fact is that they are turning around and they are doing double jeopardy on this carrier. But this carrier is fighting back. Big time. They have contacted Veterans Affairs. They have contacted their national senators and representatives. They are going through all the official channels they can, as well as filing grievances. They're about to bury these people in paperwork that they never thought would be coming. But I wanted to throw it out there to everybody that these NACI reports are coming back and carriers are getting walked off the job because of it. Now there's a step 4, supposedly, with the other crafts on these NACI reports. Because city carriers were getting this before we were. And now we're getting them here.
Yeah, this seems like something that should be kicking up a little bit of a media shitstorm.
It should be. But at the same time, you need to do the process too. Let the process play out a little bit. But I agree. This should be one of those that needs to be out there. This is one where our president should be putting it out there to the media. That they are treating us like criminals after a situation we resolved already in 2015.
Well, my concern is you mentioned that the city carriers had this happening before, so if we're just hearing about it now, that feels like it's kind of a letdown on their leadership to get the word out that's happening to them.
That I heard it through from AIDA arbitration.
Okay.
So that was, I can't remember when it was, but I heard it a few times through their stuff. Um, but it's again pattern discipline, pattern bargaining. Yep, exactly, Rich D. Pattern discipline, pattern bargaining. And that's the problem that these postal unions have. What happens to one happens to the others because management doesn't change their ways. And that's why I say it's the flavor of the month for the Royal Craft because it was already the flavor of the month for the City Craft. Next it'll be on the Clerk Craft, the APWU. So, but that's one of the few things that I see going on with management right now. Still have them doing the pods out there looking for violations. I just heard of a carrier who got stopped for not wearing their seatbelt in another state. I can't remember which one, but it's still out there. They're still looking. You know, it's unfortunately we have to know our job better than management, and most of us know the job better than management, even if we aren't somebody like the people that are on this podcast. Most carriers know their job better than management.
Yeah.
So
That is definitely a concern because it's something that's out of our control that they're trying to pull on us. And yeah, I'm definitely going to do some digging now that you've brought it to my attention to find out if it's happening to anyone in my district.
yep, keep an eye on it.
My
Good.
question is, are they going to try and see if someone had like a DUI or something like that and use it against them?
Well, we would know if somebody else got removed from their position on a specific union for that.
But can they do that though? Because I thought, in the eyes of the Postal Service, alcoholism was considered a disease that needed to be treated.
Well, I mean, if they're trying to get people off the rolls, I wouldn't put it past management. I wouldn't put past management to be that shady either.
Being in Wisconsin, I'm a little bit sensitive to the whole alcoholism thing. So,
I was waiting for that.
Is that the cheese line I heard about?
no, that's the spotted cow. Close.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do you guys have anything you want to bring up?
Well, I've got some stuff about safety. So if we're heading in that direction, I will bring it up.
Go ahead. Bring it up.
All
Since we
right.
just talked about management getting on us, we might as well talk about safety.
Okay, so they told us it's getting warm. Make sure you're hydrated. Take it from me, y'all. When I was first in RCA, I thought, I'm a little thirsty. I drank 2 32-ounce Gatorades in less than 5 minutes. Okay. It's getting hot, except for up in Wisconsin, where apparently it's April.
Yep.
So, we have to take this seriously. There have been carriers that have been found, not just for the Postal Service, but for UPS. I'm very aware of one near my local area. They have been either found dead in the truck or unresponsive. I heard of a carrier that was in the truck for 2 hours and management didn't bother to check on them. We have to take care of ourselves because ain't nobody else looking out for us on these streets. Make sure you are hydrating. If it's going to be 95 degrees, for example, tomorrow, you need to start hydrating now, tonight. You need to start getting your body prepared. And it's not just don't fall into the trap, and I'm guilty as charged for doing this. Try to lay off the caffeine. Make sure you have water and make sure you have something with electrolytes because you lose electrolytes when you sweat. And about the time you start to feel thirsty, if you haven't acclimated, you're already on that slippery slope.
So, does anyone else's office actually provide a pallet of bottled water at all for the office? Because, like, my office does order a pallet of bottled water, and anyone can grab any day as many as they want. The only time management gets pissed off is if someone like drinks half of one and leaves it sitting somewhere.
Yeah, we
Mine
have a
hasn't
hydration
yet.
station in mind.
We have a hydration station, but it's a little rinky-dink thing, and we're in an SNDC, and I have not seen the said pallet of water come in.
Yeah,
Bring it.
we don't have the hydration station, but yeah, my postmaster will order like a whole pallet of bottled water, and then it'll just be there for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
We have a water fountain that you can fill up your water bottle, and we have like a whole big cart full of stational water that they give us that they put ice in to have cold water with.
We do have an ice machine in our break room.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we have one of those too.
The only problem that sucks though is when you drink that much water is that you have to take so many more pee breaks, and that's a big problem with my other carriers that they don't want to always have to keep stopping and have to go to the bathroom. But
The other safety thing, sunscreen.
Yes.
Make sure you are wearing sunscreen, especially those sticking their right arm out the window. Make sure you're wearing sunscreen.
Or
You know,
you can
you
get a sleeve
They
that
are-
protects your arm too. I always
They
wear a
make
sleeve.
sleeves.
Yeah.
I got one for you, James. Even though the temptation is there, remember you're supposed to keep your LOV door shut while you're driving it.
You can only have it open when you're going very short distances between boxes. And you cannot have it open when you're crossing intersections or when you're traveling to or from long distance boxes. I believe it's under 15 miles an hour. If I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, so they'll probably correct me anyway.
I haven't. Has anyone tried that elbow pipe thing that I see a lot of people strap into the windows?
A lot of people have those. I prefer having my biggest fan in the window across from me. The little Craftsman battery powered fan. And I have it blowing right across the truck. So that even when the truck's off, it's still blowing cool air across the truck. Keeps it about 10 to 15 degrees cooler than it would have normally been.
Well, if you're in a mattress, you have air conditioning up until the point that the air conditioning gives out.
Okay, so
You're talking about the battery powered fans?
yeah, I have one that's powered by my power tool batteries.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen
Um,
those.
just want to make sure this is corrected on here. Got comments on here: 15 miles per hour, less than 500 feet, and no intersections for having your door open. Per people in the chat.
And make sure your seatbelt is on at all times.
Correct.
And just for those in the POVs, because I have a POV, I have pedals on the other side. I always wear my seatbelt because, I mean, if you get hit, it doesn't matter. You're going to go out that window or out the other window. Best just to wear it no matter what.
Yep, and you got to make sure you take care of your safety. You know, as
Right.
Bill says, you are the most important delivery of the day. Get home to your loved ones. We feel that way too. Every single person on here feels that way. You need to get home to your family.
Yes.
Anything else, guys?
this job is, while it is a great job, I'm not giving my life for this job.
No. To management, you're just a number, and they'll replace you the very next day. Your family can't replace you.
No.
And remember, if you're feeling dizzy or lightheaded, pull over, call 911. You might be having heat stroke or heat exhaustion. Better safe than sorry. Get help before it's too late.
I did.
Don't forget they gave us. Don't forget they gave us those little charts you have to carry around with you. So if you're feeling any of those symptoms, you look at that little chart and go through it and make sure that if you're having any of those symptoms, that you need to call 911 or drink clean, rest, pull over.
Yep. Yeah, when I had my heat sickness, I started feeling dizzy near the end of my route. And I'm like, I'll just push through it. I'll just push through it. I'll just push through it. Because I only had like 20 boxes left. And then I was down for 3 days after that. Because I pushed myself through it. Now I'm actually more susceptible to the heat than I was before. Because of that.
Oh, that's funny frequency. They put the charts in the LLVs and the glue gave out from the heat.
Yep. I have one on my dash, one on my door, and one behind me on the sliding door.
And remember, you can always make a pan of cookies on the dash of the LLV if you really, really want something to eat.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, even in
Warm up your
adventures, I
lunch.
mean, if I need to heat up my
Fry your
lunch, I just
egg.
go to the carrier microwave.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Last call, guys. Anything else?
I would just say everybody who has a convention this week, learn as much as you can if you're a first timer. We welcome all first timers. Don't be afraid to step up to that mic. Ask questions at your caucus night. Ask questions of your candidates. And this is the national convention, just on a smaller scale. This is where the true business of the union gets done. The voting for the delegates is when you'll find out if you ran for a delegate. It's where you'll find out if you're a paid delegate, a paid alternate, or an alternate.
I do want to say with the state conventions that if you are a carrier, whether you're sub, an ARC, a regular, if you've never been to a state convention and you happen to have the day off, whether it's your K day or whatever or whatnot, and you want to go, you can attend as long as you're a member of the union. You can't vote because you're not a delegate, but you can be there. So by all means, please attend and check it out. And if you attend and you start to meet people and you learn what goes on, and then maybe you'll run as a delegate next year and you'll get your name on the ballot for your county unit and other coworkers will vote for you to go. That's where it starts. That's how you get more involved.
I was actually very impressed. An RCA that went to, I think she was an RCA at the time. We'll go with that. She was an RCA. She is a regular carrier now, and she was on the ballot this year to be a national delegate. You bet your life I voted for her because I want to see the first timers to a convention and the first timers to a state convention rather, and the first time to a national convention that are coming on their own dime. I want them to be delegates. That shows commitment.
I agree with that completely. How about you, Mark? What's your final thought?
Like you said, it's getting hot and just need to stay hydrated. And for those that have state conventions this week, step up, make your voices heard. Please, this is your some people won't get to go to the national convention. So, like I said, step up, make your voices heard, so that because there's going to be a national person at your convention. So let them know what you think. If it's about the ratification process or just anything that you feel like a question, anything about the contract. I'm like Bill
Thank
says,
you.
you are the most important delivery of the day. So get home to your loved ones.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you guys jumping up here and joining in. It was only going to be me and Josh tonight. Bill, you've been surrogated by two people, and they can't fill your shoes. We miss you, but they did a very good job. I will give them credit, and I hope they come back up to join us again another time. They're all right. We do have to take care of ourselves, and we do have to go to these conventions. We do have to participate in this union. The only way we make change is through these conventions, through resolutions that are voted on first at your local meetings, then your state convention, then at national convention. That is how our national board gets the information of what we want to see. And right now, that's the only way they get to know what we want to see. But we need to step up first, come together, show up for these events. And I will tell you, you don't have to be a delegate to speak at these events, because at my very first state convention over here in Pontiac, Michigan, my county was hosting it. I asked the most popular delegate of the state convention to get the rules suspended for me to present a resolution. And they did it. And I got to present that resolution. And the name of that person was Bridget Boziak. She suspended the rules for me so that I could present a 3-page resolution. It passed at state, but failed at national because it was too wordy. But I took the chance. You can too. You can get involved now and make a name for yourself through the delegation as well, to be more inclined to be participating in future conventions and conferences, etc. And it still made it there. We still make a difference. Every single resolution that we pass tonight that is national level oriented is going to national for my state. So will all the rest of the state resolutions that get voted on during their state convention. Participation is key. Taking care of yourself to be able to participate is key as well. As Josh said, hydrate yourself, take care of yourself. It doesn't matter if you're an ARC, RCA, PTF, regular carrier, or retired carrier. If you want to participate to help this craft, come join us. Come participate in these events. Come see what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Good night and good luck.